I'll do the very best I can if I'm fortunate enough to win today.
A great opportunity. There's tremendous enthusiasm from everybody. You see it all over the country.
There is a clear choice in this election between strong, steady leadership or a loose cannon who could put everything at risk.
Hillary Clinton is the most corrupt person ever to seek the office of the presidency of the United States.
It is a day that will be looked upon with historical tones. The question is, what will history say about the 2016 presidential election? The manner in which the candidates conducted themselves, the manner in which the standard way of doing political business may change forever. And what will this election say about not just the process and those seeking power, but those who are charged with awarding power at the ballot box? That's you. Welcome to this special edition of America Talks Live here on Newsmax, subtitled America Votes 2016, Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton at the top, the direction of America at its very core. I'm Ed Berliner along with Miranda Kahn. We'll take you through the next hour as the pregame to this historic day and night. First thoughts as you get ready to go ahead and get to work here.
I was so excited, I jumped out of bed today. It's the Super Bowl of politics. I mean, this is an election like we've never seen. I don't even want to try to make predictions, although we're going to be asking our guests their predictions because
let them make the predictions.
I feel like I've gotten everything wrong, you know. So but that's what.
No, that's okay. Feel good because I think most of America thinks the same way too.
But that's what makes it exciting, though. We've never seen it. This is an unprecedented presidential election, and I'm so excited to be a part of it.
Is it unprecedented in your opinion, though, because of what we face issue-wise, or simply because we have probably been more entertained as if bread and circuses were still alive from the days of Rome than ever before?
I think there's a little bit of both in there, but I think, obviously with terrorism, I think that's definitely changed, the political landscape. And the way people think and the way they're voting. But clearly, yeah, I mean, Donald Trump is like any candidate we've ever seen before. I mean, Hillary Clinton's been in politics almost her entire life. No big surprises there, but we've never seen someone like Donald Trump, and he will forever change politics.
That is fair to say, indeed. All right, so with that being said, let's begin by welcoming the top of the batting order. He is the former aide to Senator Lloyd Bentsen, veteran columnist at The Hill in that den of vipers known as the Washington, D.C. Beltway, Brent Budowsky, joined by the syndicated, nice hat, by the way, by the syndicated political columnist, veteran economist from the University of Maryland, Peter Morici. Peter, between your tie and the hat that, Brent Budowsky has got on, you guys are sartorial splendor here this afternoon. So thank you so much for making us all look bad.
Yeah, I think Zogby's going to be calling us and saying, hey, wait a minute, he stole my look, right? Don't you think, Brent?
I was thinking about something entirely different, but I didn't want to do it. All right, well, Brent, seeing as you went ahead and you've absolutely charmed us now with the hat, let's start with you. First off, gentlemen, the question, Brent, give us your hard predictions for the rest of the evening.
Well, and by the way, the hat is in honor of my brother, John Gizzi, on this historic day.
Did you steal that hat from him? Is that his hat and you took it from him?
He wasn't looking and I grabbed it, and he's waiting outside to grab it back.
Okay, so we predict you're going to have to give him his hat back eventually. What about the election?
No, the honest answer is I think we go in with Hillary having a slight lead with an outcome that is unpredictable. It's really that simple. I'm not going to go too far. In the Hill newspaper today, there were about 10 of us who made our various predictions, and people might look at it. I'm one of them.
I got it right here,
diversity of opinions. Yeah, and any one of those predictions could be right. I really don't know, except Hillary has a clear slight lead, but I wouldn't make a wager on this one if I didn't have to.
Well, let's go. You have, how many electoral votes will she get? You say 290. How did you get to that number?
Oh, I assume Trump's going to win Ohio. I'm assuming he'll probably win one or two of the blue states. I don't know which one. I think Hillary probably wins Florida. And I just kind of double averaged it, basically, figuring they'll go both ways with a tilt to Hillary. But I don't have a lot of confidence in that, as I said. That's just my editors asked me to do it. I was glad to do it. That's my best call.
That's it, huh?
Mark that down. No confidence whatsoever. Okay, very nice.
Let's go to Peter Morici. He's a money guy. He's an economist. Who's your money on for tonight?
Well, I have to say it's Hillary. My feeling is that Donald peaked around Thursday in terms of the tracking polls. And while polls have been wrong, not this many polls at the same time in a repetitive event, which is a presidential campaign where we have voting patterns. So my feeling is that Hillary will be the next president of the United States. Where I'd like to say something about your introductory remarks, which are maybe more poignant, and that is that we've seen all this before. We've had the likes of Andrew Jackson, who was a real scoundrel, wholly corrupted John Quincy Adams, and we've had Williams Jennings Bryan, who managed to lose the presidency 3 times. But basically, he organized the white small farmers in the South at the end of the 19th century to get the Democratic nomination 3 times and got wholly trounced. As a consequence, the Democratic Party reshaped itself. All these predictions that the Republicans are cooked as a goose is nonsense. Tonight will shake them up, and a new party will emerge.
Will you not admit, though, Peter, and you're right by the time you go down to history, that there have been shenanigans throughout presidential politics ever since time immemorial, but with the press, the media, social media, and the entertainment factor of a Donald Trump, this is unlike anything we have ever seen before, because in many ways,
see what Andrew Jackson did to John Quincy Adams.
But then tell me what Andrew Jackson did when it comes down to Twitter.
They wrecked his one term.
But of course, he didn't have Twitter. He didn't have all these tools in his hands right now. This has been an entertainment election, though, Peter.
Oh, absolutely. It has been an entertainment election, but so was Truman's whistle stop. There are always new and novel things. Human beings are always innovating. It's like, this nonsense that, robots are a new thing and automation and all that. We've had automation since, fire in the wheel. My feeling is that Donald Trump is one of these phenomena that comes around every generation or two and really shakes things up. So Donald's done that. He might not have won, but things will be different going forward. The Republic is not going to collapse, and electoral politics are not going to be forever changed. Human nature is what it's always been, corrupt, good and evil, and all the rest of it. Unfortunately, this race, like Quincy Adams and Andrew Jackson, we have 2 weasels running, and as a consequence, the American people simply can't win.
All right, well, we have 2 gentlemen saying that they both think Hillary Clinton is going to win. Donald Trump's son says that his father will concede the election should he lose, but with some stipulations. Take a listen.
All we want is a fair fight, and I think that's what we want, not just for this election, but for all elections, so that everyone has a chance to actually have their voice be heard, not have it manipulated.
But if he loses, he will concede tonight?
If he loses and it's, legit and fair, and there's not obvious stuff out there, without question, yes.
So, Brent, let's talk about this because we've been here before. This is nothing new. We already have, and oddly enough, when it comes down, I'm going to find this sitting right in front of me, Brent, because you got to hear this. Donald Trump has already today filed a lawsuit in Nevada over the closing time of the polls. It is at 10:30 in the morning in Nevada before the polls. There's not even a lot of people there. And he's already filed a lawsuit claiming that people were improperly allowed to vote after the polls closed. Does this not show us that no matter what happens, if Donald Trump loses, Brent, we haven't heard the last of this election?
Oh, I think if Donald Trump loses by a close margin, he'll probably rouse some rabbles. If he loses by a larger margin, he probably won't, and it won't matter what he says. We'll just have to see how it turns out. Now, I think you're right, by the way, about the entertainment election. It hasn't been the most edifying on either side with the content of the debate. I will say to Peter that I predict if Bruce Springsteen were alive then, he'd have supported Andy Jackson.
I think it would have been tough to actually put out Born to Run at that time, but that might be something entirely different. Go ahead.
Peter, I have to ask you, what do you think the reaction on Wall Street will be if Trump wins, and what if Hillary wins?
Well, we already got the Hillary reaction yesterday on the basis of the FBI tapes. I mean, the Wall Street wants Hillary to win because it's continuity. They've learned how to deal with the Obama administration, whereas Trump is change, and they don't know what to make of it. Longer term, I think Wall Street would be better off with Donald Trump because he'd return us to a growth path. I honestly think that with Hillary, it's going to be 4 more years of what we've had, and that's not very encouraging.
But if we talk about 4 more years of what we've already had, how much of it is going to be, and I tell you what, Peter, let's look at it this way. How much of it is going to be the president's fault, whether it's Hillary or Donald Trump, and the fight that's going to go on between them and Congress at this point? Because it would seem as if whomever gets elected at this point, Peter, is going to be completely stuck in a quagmire. This country won't go anywhere for 4 years. Nobody wants to compromise. It's their way or the highway.
Well, I think that's the problem with Hillary Clinton. She wants to go much further to the left than Donald Trump, and than Barack Obama. And if there's no progress with the Congress, it's partially her fault. Congressman Ryan, Speaker Ryan is not an unreasonable man. McConnell is not an unreasonable man. It's just that Barack Obama's made it very, very hard to be reasonable with anybody but himself. His idea of compromise is you come and listen to what I have to say, I'll write down the words for you, and you move to my position. Donald Trump, I think it's different. My feeling is his presidency could go one of two ways. It could end up like Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was at war with his own party in the Congress and got nothing done. He was more conservative than the Democrats there would have liked. Or it could go the way of Dwight Eisenhower. Dwight Eisenhower's administration was basically run by a consensus of Republicans because he was politically inexperienced. He appointed a lot of people that he was familiar with, and they got it done. Trump is going to have to go to the Republican bench. Clearly, he doesn't have people around him who can govern. I mean, I find it laughable what his economics team is. He's going to, and the question is, will my colleagues work for him? That's an interesting question because, they don't like him, but the lure of power, golly gee, the chance to be chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors or, U.S. trade representative is so seductive. We'll see.
All right, 30 seconds. Go ahead. You got one.
I was going to say the same thing. We have 30 seconds remaining. I want to give the last word to Brent.
Yeah, well, I never heard Dwight Eisenhower refer to women as fat slobs and pigs and praise Russian dictators. I want to say that. But true. Bottom line, the truth of the matter is, I think with Hillary, if she wins, it'll be fascinating to see where she is when she no longer has to worry about Bill Clinton on one side and Barack Obama on the other. Now, I agree with Peter that it'll also be fascinating if Trump wins to see where he comes down, because I think there are both unanswered questions on both sides of the aisle. And the only thing more interesting about the election is going to be what happens afterwards.
I think what's interesting is I would have wanted to know what kind of tunes Springsteen would have had back in those years, but we'll have to have that discussion another time. Brent Budowsky, thank you so much for stealing John Gizzi's hat. Give it back, young man. We appreciate your time. We'll talk to you again real soon. Peter Morici is going to stay with us through the break. And coming up, we'll talk about the polls in several swing states. Plus, we'll talk about why some historically red and blue states are now toss-ups in the election. This is America Talks Live on Newsmax.